Welcome to Love Will Love, a place where emotions meet stories. Here, we explore love, mystery, and the moments that change our lives forever. Every episode is a new journey. Are you ready to feel it? Don't forget to subscribe, like, and join us for the next story of Love Reborn. Her husband walked back through the door after 6 months, but she knew he wasn't the same man. She was kneading dough for homemade pizza when the soft click of the gate stopped her mid-motion. Warm afternoon light danced across the kitchen floor, and the laughter of their children playing in the yard drifted through the open window. He stood in the doorway, suitcase in hand, as if he'd just emerged from a long journey. His eyes held confusion rather than relief. For a moment, the world froze. The children paused their game, turning to the figure they'd believed lost forever. He crossed the threshold with careful steps, as though afraid of what he might find. Without a word, he set down his suitcase and looked at her. His face was tanned, his hair neatly combed, but the spark she once knew was gone. In its place was a hesitant vulnerability she'd never seen before. She wiped her flour-dusty hands on her apron and drew in a steady breath. He opened his mouth, then closed it, searching for words. Finally, he whispered, "I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I just woke up." She thought of his strong voice, the certainty it carried. Now it sounded fragile, uncertain. "Where were you?" she asked, her voice barely above a breath. He looked away, then at their children, who were running toward him shouting, "Daddy." He swept them into a tight embrace. Their joy lit up the room, but her heart twisted. How could she be relieved and terrified at the same time? Over the next days, he fell into the routines of home, like an actor learning new lines. Each morning, he brewed coffee at precisely 6 o'clock, lifted the children with gentle care, and sat at the kitchen table, studying his empty mug as if it might hold answers. He no longer quipped about rush hour traffic, nor teased her about her cookbooks. Instead, he asked softly, "What's on the kids' schedule today?" His kindness was almost robotic, so perfect, it felt off. One morning, she found a crumpled note on the counter. "Dear family, I'm sorry for disappearing. I got lost in my own mind. I don't recall much, but I want to try and recover my memories. I love you all. Rick." Rick never wrote love notes. His handwriting was typically neat, businesslike. This felt like someone else had learned his signature. She held the note, trembling. Relief washed over her. He wanted to rebuild, but doubt crept in. Was this the same Rick, or a stranger playing his part? They began therapy sessions. Rick approached each exercise with determination. Guided visualizations, memory recall drills, journaling. Sometimes a flicker of recognition returned a childhood song, the taste of her favorite chai latte, the sound of their wedding march, but each flash vanished before it could take hold. She watched him, love and fear warring in her chest. Some nights he'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling as though scanning for fragments of his old self. She'd lie beside him, wrapping her arm around his waist and whispering, "I'm here. We'll find you together." He'd squeeze her hand and nod. But when morning came, the distance between them would stretch again. One evening, under a blanket of stars on their back porch, she finally confronted him. "I feel you here," she said softly, "but part of you is asleep. You're here, but you're not." He closed his eyes, exhaling slowly. "I know. I can't explain how I lost myself. But maybe if I can trace back your steps, where we first met, what we loved, I can piece it together." She took his hand. "Let's start with our favorite memories." They spent weekends revisiting old haunts. The coffee shop where he first asked for her number, the park bench where he nervously proposed, the lakeside pier where they celebrated their first anniversary. At each stop, she prompted him gently. Sometimes he laughed, as if recalling a dream. Other times he stared blankly, searching his mind for something that felt real. At home, they resurrected traditions: Thursday game nights, Sunday pancakes, Saturday cooking experiments. He relearned to complain about too much salt, or too little spice. She began to see glimpses of him in those small frustrations, the way he'd scrunch his nose at her cooking, or tease the kids for hogging all the syrup. One Sunday, while they flipped through a photo album, he stopped on a grainy shot of their wedding dance. The moment his finger brushed the image, his lips curved into a genuine smile. "Music," he murmured. "Our song." She hit play on her phone, and the familiar melody filled the room. His eyes lit up bright, unguarded. He sang a few lines in a voice that trembled with recognition. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized the path back had begun. But the road wasn't smooth. There were arguments, sharp, painful arguments over things he couldn't remember. The name of their pediatrician, their favorite restaurant, the secret ingredient in her lasagna. Each lapse cut deeper than the last. Sometimes, in the fury of frustration, she'd shout, "This isn't you." He'd go silent, retreating behind a wall of confusion and shame. Yet, each time they reached a breaking point, they found a way back through apologies, therapy, or small surprises. Slowly, and against all odds, the real Rick resurfaced layer by layer, memory by memory. He began anticipating her coffee order, teasing her with the same old jokes, and reading bedtime stories in that deep, comforting voice she had missed. He even remembered the off-key karaoke night when their daughter insisted on singing "Let It Go" 8 times in a row. Though some shadows of those lost months lingered, they had rebuilt something stronger, a partnership forged by crisis and love. On a warm evening, as they sat watching their children chase fireflies in the yard, Rick reached over and captured her hand in his. "Thank you," he whispered, "for coming back for me." She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "I never left." They gazed at the family they had almost lost in the journey they'd taken to reclaim it. And in that quiet, golden moment, they understood that love could not only survive a 6-month disappearance of the heart, and mind it could find its way home again. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Love has many faces. Which one will we discover next?